Hey everybody, I'm Sierra.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome back to another episode of the Unsolved Couple, where every week Ben and I recap one of your original gateway drugs into true crime.
Unsolved Mysteries.
Hopefully this works okay, because we're recording on some new equipment.
New computer.
I'm slowly trying to upgrade everything on our end so that we can get to the point where we actually do video, which I'm convinced nobody wants to see us.
I agree. We shouldn't do it.
Maybe I wish we could just have cartoon characters of us doing the podcast on YouTube. Wouldn't that be fun? A cartoon Ben and Sierra.
I don't know.
I don't know. It is where podcasts are going, and the people are demanding it. Okay. Well, before we dive into season 4, episode 21, quick housekeeping notes. 1, please make sure that if you are enjoying us on any streaming service such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Podbean, there's a handful of others, please make sure you click that follow button and comment in the section below for Spotify. Also, leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you can. We are also streaming on YouTube, not video, but we do have a podcast playlist on our YouTube channel, Unsolved Couple Pod. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. All right. I think that's all my notes. I think I'm a week out by the time this comes out from CrimeCon. I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah. So come find me.
2 weeks out, I think.
2 weeks out?
Yeah. Yeah, 2 weeks.
All right. We're 2 weeks out from CrimeCon. Come find me at CrimeCon. I just ordered stickers. I've got poker chips. I've got keychains. Today's episode is a little rough.
You thought it was rough?
Well, it's kind of sad.
Yeah. I mean, it's murder on
It's
some of them.
Murder.
There's 2 murders.
Yeah.
Technically 3 murders.
Mm-hmm. That just makes me sad. I'm sad that there are people out there doing harm to other people. Why are you doing that, people? Why are you the way that you are?
Why can't we all just get along?
Do better. How do you feel about that saying?
You know how I feel about flowery words.
Mm-hmm. With no substance behind them.
Yes.
Word salad.
Yeah. You know how I feel about that.
Yeah, it just seems like it's thrown around a lot lately. Like, oh, just do better. I mean, when I can say don't murder people, that seems pretty...
Yeah, I mean, that should be a given.
Yeah.
But yes, I don't like that stuff.
I know.
It's just, but yes, I can get behind. Let's not hurt people.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to start by telling you guys of a story of Marie and Maria.
Marie and Maria?
Yeah.
I honestly didn't catch that.
You didn't catch that? Yeah. It's
No.
Marie and Maria. And so it's Marie Lilienberg. And these names are Swedish, so hopefully I'm getting them right. And Maria Wahlén.
They just referred to them a lot in the show as 2 Swedish immigrants.
Yes.
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. So 23-year-old Marie Lilienberg and 25-year-old Maria Wahlén were, as Ben said, Swedish nationals who unfortunately were murdered in July of 1983, even before we were born, Ben.
Hello.
July 24th, behind a gas station near I-5, interstate near and dear to me and Ben's hearts, in the city of Commerce, California. This is a small suburb in Los Angeles, and small suburb to Los Angeles means it's a pretty big pretty big area, but when you're a small suburb to LA, everything's bigger. A gas station attendant who went out back to take out the trash, as one does, looked inside the trash can, these big dumpsters that they have in the back of the gas station, and he sees a couple of things that catches his eye that he knows are not supposed to be there. There's 2 backpacks, and upon looking into them further, he also finds clothing, diaries, a couple of rolls of undeveloped film, Ben, do you want to explain what undeveloped film means for anyone under the age of like 30?
I don't know how to explain it. It's just undeveloped film for cameras.
Yeah.
Because you had to develop pictures.
Yeah, you had to put this like roll, Kodiak roll usually, in your camera, click it close, and then you had to like, you had to wind it, right? Because once it's exposed to the sunlight.
I like the sound effect.
Thank you. Once it's exposed to the sunlight, the film would become damaged. And then once you went through, like, what was it? Usually like 24 photos or something like that.
Like 36 or something.
Something like that.
I don't know.
It would wind itself up. And then you could take it out and you would take this little tiny cartridge. It was like an inch and a half big into a place and they would develop it for you. So they find 2 rolls of undeveloped film, passports and wallets. This is not looking good. I think automatically when you find this backpack, you're like.
I'll say this though. Being in California, it's pretty incredible that someone saw that in the dumpster, went through it, and then called the police. Because personally, if I'm chucking stuff in a dumpster.
Yeah. At your gas station job.
I mean, the chances that someone sees something.
Even notices that it's there.
And then notices, hey, something's off. Mm-hmm. And then calls the police.
Absolutely.
I would just chuck things in the dumpster and leave it. And then it ends up in the dump and you would never see it again.
Yeah. So, of course, many of these items appear to be likely something that someone would be carrying if they were traveling, right? Especially with passports. So likely someone traveling around the United States, but not from the United States. And unfortunately, the items in the dumpster belonged to Marie and Maria. They had failed to pick up their luggage or show up for their return flight to Sweden that very day that their luggage was found. And on July 31st, their families report them missing. And August 5th, the fathers of both the women fly to California, hoping to find their daughters by means of widespread media attention. During the next 3 weeks, more than 50 sightings, as we've seen many of times before, of Maria and Maria are reported. They are all checked out, but none of them are confirmed. Maria's father was especially concerned because she always stuck to her plans and would have never chosen to miss her flight. Fast forward to August 18th, 1983, in Los Padres National Forest, about 25 miles east of Santa Maria in Santa Barbara County. You guys, for people that are not from the United States, California is huge. It spans like an entire coastline, and the coastline, I don't even know how long the coastline is, but California is a big, big area. So as I'm telling the story, we're going to kind of be bouncing all over the state. And it seemed like they were likely traveling up Interstate 5. So I-5, the reason I said it was near and dear to me and Ben's heart is we grew up in Oregon, and I-5 goes from Mexico all the way up to Canada. You can take the entire I-5 corridor all the way up. So it covers California, Oregon, and Washington. And they are going to be bouncing around up and down California here. Sadly, it is discovered by 2 deer hunters that they noticed a skeletized arm on the ground, likely that a coyote had pulled off and dragged into the open. Upon these 2 men checking further, they unfortunately find 2 nude bodies badly decomposed. One was in a ditch about 40 feet off the highway, and the other one was beneath some buried brush. Based on jewelry and dental records, the police are able to ID them as Marie and Maria. An autopsy will show that they had both been sexually assaulted and stabbed to death, and there might have also been some attempted strangulation. Now this changes from a missing person case to a murder investigation. Sheriff detectives learned that Maria and Maria had met in January of 1983 at a resort hotel in Vail, Colorado, where they had both worked as chambermaids, which I did not realize. Chambermaids just reminds me of the 1800s. I didn't know that was still an occupation.
You're thinking of chamber pots, which I don't think that's the same.
Well, no, and that's why they got their name. Chambermaids were responsible for dumping out the chamber pots. Like that was one of their main jobs, which you couldn't have paid me enough money to do that, which I think we talked about in last week's episode a little bit at the end. Because I worked at a hotel. I worked front desk at a hotel for like a year, and we did not refer to the housekeeping staff as chambermaids. It was the housekeepers.
But it also could be the chambers of the chamber.
Maybe Vail, Colorado is like very fancy and they do things different there in the ski resort town.
The master's chambers.
The master's chambers, apparently. I don't know. So these two women were from, I'm going to try to pronounce this as a Swedish area called Danderdine. That's probably not even close to correct. And was studying to become a physical educational teacher. She had visited the United States twice before. Maria was from Algensteinus and worked as a preschool teacher. This was her first time in the United States. When the ski season ended, they decided to travel together throughout the United States. In that time, they visited Hawaii, and then they headed to the West Coast for the summer. The plan was to spend I think 3 months, they said, traveling around the United States to experience kind of some things. They'd booked their flight for the end of the summer. But and I saw this in the Trail Went Cold podcast covered this story, which they covered it in depth. It was very well done. But he mentioned that they'd gone to Hawaii, and the reason they ended up coming back to California and ended up hitchhiking was because they'd kind of started to run out of money by the time that they were back in California. So they decided to try to save some money by hitchhiking up and down the California coastline. So they're in California. They've decided to hitchhike around California before heading back to Sweden. And they believed that it was safe to hitchhike. They had told others that they felt in the United States was a friendly country and that, they could kind of get a sense of people's intentions if they talked to them for a minute or two and could kind of gauge the situation before getting in the vehicle with the wrong person. They had been cautioned, however, by some Swedish friends who were also living in America. They were on the East Coast, that it was not safe to hitchhike because we're in 1980s. 1983. In the 60s and 70s, hitchhiking was a very common thing to do.
Yeah, I think we talked about it on a prior episode.
However, by the early 80s, especially women, we had kind of learned that maybe it wasn't the safest form of transportation.
Not a good idea. Mm-mm. Still not a good idea.
And I will say, in Unsolved Mysteries, they do talk about that the culture in where they were from at the time, it was still very safe form of kind of getting around the country. And like I said, in that podcast, they even mentioned that at one point they encouraged people that were traveling around Switzerland that if they could not afford a hotel, that they could hitchhike and then knock on people's doors and ask if they could camp in their acreage or their property. And that it was very common for people from that area to say absolutely no problem. And we really ruined the world, didn't we, with just terrible people? Because to think wouldn't it be amazing to go to Switzerland, hitchhike around,
Switzerland or Sweden?
Sweden, sorry.
Okay.
Those are two different places. I am aware of that.
Two different countries.
Mm-hmm. So to go to Sweden and to hitchhike around and to knock on people's doors that have property and say, hey, would you mind if I pitch a tent in your backyard for the night? And them to be like, oh, no, that's fine. You've been Bergen.
I don't think that's Swedish.
It reminds the Swedish chef from the Muppets. That's all I have for the Swedish accent. But we ruined that. We have ruined the world.
That's a strong statement.
I'm just saying that there was a time where this was considered safe and acceptable, and now it is no longer. Do you not agree with that?
Yeah, I wouldn't know if I'd say we ruined the world, but
it just makes me sad that we have to now be on our guard like this because of terrible things happening to people.
There are bad people.
Yeah, there are bad people in the world. Maria also felt safe because she did carry a small knife with her and felt that she would be able to defend herself in any type of situation. Yeah, I was going to say, I wrote down here that there's only at the time of this Unsolved Mysteries, there was only 8 million people living in Sweden, which
Yeah.
is like a fraction of even like California's population at the time.
Yeah. I think LA County is bigger than that.
Yeah. And I'm not to say that these girls were ignorant's not the word I'm looking. I don't know what I'm trying like their world was very different than the world that they were entering in. Especially like even Vail, Colorado was very small town, and then they were instantly kind of tossed into California, and they trusted people. And unfortunately, they trusted the wrong person. And that breaks my heart. So, when the gas station found the backpacks in the dumpster, he also found a travel diary written by Maria and 2 rolls of undeveloped film. Working with from the photographs as well as the diary, investigators established that the woman's itinerary had she'd written in the diary that they had made friends with several truck drivers who had given them rides. One was named Mark Hansen, who's actually interviewed here on Unsolved Mysteries. And he is a truck driver from San Diego who remembered these girls fondly. He noted that many truck drivers at that time have daughters. And if they see young women hitchhiking, they kind of try to pick them up and take care of them. And then he even said that he warned them that they should not be hitchhiking, that it wasn't safe, and that the United States is very different from Sweden. He also mentioned that most women don't hitchhike in the United States anymore, especially the amount of dangerous men in California at the time. I mean, we are on the cusp of like the East Side Killer. You've got, why can't I think of the name of the guy in California? Anyways, there is a ton of men operating at this time that we find out later are serial killers that are picking up vulnerable women. However, once again, unfortunately, Marie and Maria aren't concerned. They're young, they're beautiful, they're in California, they're traveling up and down the coast. Like, there is a part of like,
This is the story of every person's life.
yes, I'm like, there is a part of me that was
we've
like, I would have loved to do this. I
I'm
mean,
just saying, we've all been told, given advice, and all of us in all of our lives at some point say,
that's not going to happen to me.
or I understand, I appreciate it,
Mhm.
but I got it covered.
Yeah.
I mean, was that way for many years of my life, and I'm probably still that way in certain things,
Yeah.
even in my life now.
No, and like, I understand this. My friend Crystal and I spent a week in Hawaii when we were
How old?
21,
Uh-huh.
and we were broke as a joke.
And were you guys just hanging out with strangers and
Yes,
doing
and
things and partying on the beach
Yes, and we hitchhiked
with strangers?
with strangers.
Okay.
We met a boy on the beach who told us that he
Story
was a
of
surf
everyone's
instructor.
life.
And then we got in the back of his car.
And then went to a luau on the beach with strangers.
Yes, and it was a great like coming of age experience. But
Because
I
it
look
all
back
worked
now.
out.
Yes. And of course, just like me and my friend Crystal when we were 21, because there was 2 of us, we felt a little bit more like invincible about things. And that is how these women felt. They were traveling together, they felt safe. Mark Hansen actually arranges for another truck driver that he knew and trusted to give them a continuous ride because the second truck driver was heading up north and was able to get them into Oakland, which is just across the bay from San Francisco. So Marie and Maria talked to their families on July 16th. During that call, they promised actually that they weren't going to hitchhike anymore. I don't know if their parents were aware how far north, because their flights are out of Los Angeles and they are in Oakland, which for those that don't
That's
live
a
here,
long ways.
it's at least I think a 6 to 8 hour
it's a ways.
drive, right? Not even like, I am imagining Ben, who has the most amount of travel anxiety. He's the human that you have to get to the airport If I could get Ben to the airport 4 hours before a flight, he'd be as happy as a clam. 2 hours before a flight, he's starting to get nervous.
I don't like to cut things short.
I know
I
you
like
do.
to be on time.
And I'm the person that I like to walk through security and then just walk in and then have them say, last call, and I just walk straight onto the airplane. And I don't have to wait. I just walk on. And the best part is I've never missed a flight. And I usually only show up about 45 minutes before my flight takes off. And it's always worked out for me. But I've learned in our marriage to keep Ben happy. That is the one thing that I let him have complete control over. I will get to the airport as early as he needs us to get to. But as I was watching this, I was thinking.
Let's just be clear. There are comments the entire day.
Like, oh, we could have gotten an extra hour of sleep this morning. But as I was watching this, I was thinking of Ben trying to get from San Francisco to Los Angeles, knowing that he doesn't actually have a secure ride to get there. He's got to hitchhike to get to his flight. How long before your flight would you need to start hitchhiking to not be losing your mind?
Well, I think they said that it was 2 days, which is probably about what I'd have to start.
You'd have to be like, all right, I don't care how we've got 2 days to get there. Yeah.
Minimum.
I'd be like probably the day before being like.
You'd be the day of.
The day of, I'd be like, oh yeah,
because
their flight was at like 10 o'clock at night. Because
you would start that morning.
Yeah, I'd be like, we just got to get there. We got to get there by the afternoon. We'll be good.
Up.
Okay, so sadly, they promised their parents they're not going to hitchhike anymore. But however, the evening of July 21st, Maria sits down and writes an entry in her diary that turns out to be her last one. And around 7 a.m. on July 22nd, they leave a friend's house in Redwood City, where they are last seen hitchhiking at the Bay Shore Freeway in Redwood City area. They only had about $50 on them by this time, and they're heading back to Los Angeles so they could pick up their luggage and catch their flight to New York City. 2 days later, once there, they planned to connect with some friends and in New York, spend a day or two there vacationing and traveling around, and then head back to Sweden. So July 24th, the day Marie and Maria are scheduled to depart New York, their backpacks and personal effects are found in the city of Commerce. Soon after, their clothing and other items are discovered adjacent to Highway 166. 4 weeks later, the hunters discover their bodies near Santa Barbara. That's kind of the timeline we have. This makes headlines for several weeks, as talked about. It's on the news every night. And unfortunately, like we've seen many times, it goes cold because nothing really comes from any of the news coverage. And this sits cold for 8 years. And the investigation into the murder of Maria remained at a standstill until September 26th, 1991. An anonymous phone call came into the Swedish consulate in San Diego. The caller said that he knew of a man named Lauren, who previously, about 8 or 9 years ago, he had seen on a regular basis. Lauren was from Canada, and he came down every winter in his van and drove through San Diego on his way down to Mexico. And in one occasion, back in 1983, Lauren had come through the area and had mentioned to the caller that he had seen 2 Swedish girls who had tried to con him. The caller said that Lauren was well known for hating women. He also described Lauren's van. It was a white van with a green canoe on the top. It was very recognizable, and a number of people knew him and knew of this van that he drove. The caller described this man in the most... I love when a potential bad guy is described in not so well terms. So he's supposedly over 6 feet tall, but only around 175 pounds. So we got a tall, lanky dude with, quote, thinning red hair, a long, poignant nose, protruding, watery eyes. That's what this guy is described as.
Protruding watery eyes?
Thinning red hair.
This sounds like an author describing a person in a book.
And a long point nose. Like very prominent point. Yeah. Pointy.
Who describes people like this?
I don't know, but I'm here for it because this
I'm
guy
here
is
for it
potentially
too.
a bad dude. So he looks disgusting. He looks like a toenail that has been flicked off into the pool. Detectives don't believe that this call is a hoax and actually believes that the caller is afraid to come forward. There is a man interviewed on Unsolved Mysteries that he wants the caller to contact them and give them some more information, even if he still wants to remain anonymous. He believes that it could be very helpful. And Sergeant Bruce of the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department said that it's very frustrating that they have been unable to find the killer. He also feels that the killer may be responsible for other murders across the country. And he thinks that the moral of the story is simple. Quote, it's very dangerous to hitchhike. And in the case of women hitchhiking, they could very easily end up like Marie and Maria, end quote. The anonymous caller said that Lauren usually wore secondhand clothes, had a golfer's hat, his white van, which she believed was a Chevrolet, had a rough, non-professional paint job, and the caller believed that Lauren's primary source of income was a pension from Canada, perhaps because of a mental disability. And that is where Unsolved Mystery leaves us.
All right. Sad story.
Yeah, terrible story.
But
Two girls out having the time of their life.
Give us an update.
This is unsolved. I know. Okay, so after the story aired, the show received a tip that led the sheriff's department to identify the man that they had ID'd. They had been called in as Lauren. Authorities were able to identify the person who also called the Swedish consulate and provided the additional information. So the police were actually even able to obtain a search warrant for Lauren's apartment and found evidence that they believe further implicated him into the crime. The sheriff's county continued to investigate him, but then
because they started 8 years later.
Nothing happened. And there's zero further information about that. The last thing is like from 1992 where they talk about that they had a ton of information from his apartment to implicate him in the crime, ...
But that no one said what that is. You can say that, but
they didn't say anything. They didn't even say anything like there's multiple articles talking about kind of this new lead and then the Unsolved Mysteries episode and then identifying the caller and identifying this man and even saying that they found stuff to implicate him, but we don't know.
But even whatever this caller says, that's not enough to go off of.
No.
Because this caller's he didn't say that he confessed to it. And at the end of the day, it took the police.
But I will say, they never said if they ruled him out as a suspect.
I'm sure they haven't ruled him out.
Or if he still is. There's literally, as of 1999, there has not been a single development from the sheriff's department.
It's unfortunate because they didn't have a suspect. It took 8 years to get a suspect.
Yeah.
To even hone in on one person. And a lot of that's just because these girls were all over the place. It's not like they were in a certain area.
And they were
there was
foreign
a circle.
nationals, right? They weren't even here, which makes, not to say that they didn't deserve our full attention. It makes things more difficult in the fact that they didn't know that they were missing for so long because they had to be reported missing from people in Sweden.
Well, that's what I'm saying is they weren't settled anywhere. So no one knew they were missing.
There was no address. Yeah, exactly. There was no permanent residence.
They didn't have any circle of people. Because they were constantly moving.
Yeah.
And then as the police, you can't get a suspect because one, again, they're not dealing with a circle of, usually like the police always start with the immediate people around them and then work out.
There is no immediate circle.
Every person they were dealing with was a stranger.
Yeah. The only person in their immediate circle was each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every person they came across was just a complete stranger.
Yeah.
Which they met literally on the street.
And who knows like how long.
It's a tough one.
It makes me sad because I feel like today their bodies were actually found quite quickly after they were reported missing. It makes me sad because I have a feeling that if there was an actual preservation of evidence with the wherewithal of what was coming in the late 90s, this would probably, because there was evidence of sexual assault, it's likely that this could be solved because of that. And here's the thing, I don't know, maybe in a locker in the back logs of somewhere in this county, there is a piece of evidence that could be tested, but it doesn't seem like anyone's talking about this case. And there's no family here pushing for it to get solved because they don't live here. So I will say, there was some speculation that a man named Lauren may have been the same serial killer as Lauren Herzog. Him and Wesley were dubbed the quote, speed freak killers because they would get high on meth and go out and murder people. They were suspected up to murdering up to 15 people. At first, when I heard this, was like, oh, yeah, first off, a man's name of Lauren is pretty uncommon, but the police never said if the apartment they investigated was the same as the man who was later arrested for the 15 murders, the speed freak killers. After digging into it a little bit more, I actually don't think that it was the same person. I think it's two different Laurens, unfortunately. And I would love to know more about whatever happened at that apartment, what evidence was collected. Is there any evidence sitting there? I plan on sending a few emails and making a few phone calls
I'm sure
to
you do.
just see if there is any evidence, can it be tested? It's not going to hurt.
Well, no, I mean, if it is there and it's been a case that's been sitting there and they haven't looked at it for a long time, hey, maybe.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
Pick it up.
LA County, I totally get it. There's a lot of bad things that happen in this county. I'm sure the sheriff's department is swamped, but it would be really interesting to find out if they have this somewhere. Yeah. Okay. So unfortunately, that's the story. As of today, this has gone unsolved, and it doesn't seem like there's been a single update on it since 1999. So it's been sitting cold for a while. And unless some new evidence or a new tip comes forward, I don't know if we're going to get a lot of progress on it, sadly. Yeah, breaks my heart.
It's too bad.
Yeah. So I hope our families are doing well. I couldn't even find, because I don't live over there, if their families are still around or what they're doing or anything like that. So unfortunately, that's my sad story. All right. What do you have for us, Ben?
I have a lost love. Are you ready? I took this lost love because I know you've taken a lot of the lost loves lately. And I took this one because I think you've done both the baby snatching that we've covered.
The amount of baby snatchings we've covered is insane.
This one was not baby snatching, but it was just as it was
baby fraud.
It was just as evil. So
it combines the baby snatching and the the pastor or the reverend that we cover. It seems like it blends almost both of those two elements together.
Bit.
Yeah.
I tried to dig quite a bit into this one, but all right, we're going to get told about the story of Joel Soll, Soll. All right. He tells us he was growing up. He's in kindergarten in 1944. And he says he was out playing with kids, and one of the kids did something mean to him and said, "I can do this because you're adopted." And he didn't know what that meant, but he knew it was something bad. So he goes home and he's upset. He's crying. He tells his mom, "Hey, these kids called me names and they said I was adopted. Is that true?" And he even says, "I didn't even know what that meant at the time." His mother admits to him, "Yes, you were adopted," which just goes to show, how does everyone else know that these kids are adopted?
If you're going to commit to the bit, then you got to commit to it.
The parents don't tell the kid, but the rest of the neighborhood knows. The rest of the
community knows. Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you know the parents and all of a sudden they show up with a kid and the wife wasn't pregnant, I don't know.
I don't know, man. And also, if your kid is the kind of kid that's teasing another kid for being adopted, your kid is an a-hole.
Do better.
Dang it, Ben. Yes, do better. I'm part of the problem, aren't I?
Okay. So Joel's, he never tells us his mom's name, his adopted mom's name. And you're going to find out. Not why, but I do think there was some, a little bit of trauma there. Joe says his mom told him that his parents died in a car crash. Okay. So he was adopted. Oh, he does tell us. I wrote it down in my notes. I just hadn't gotten there. Adopted by Florence and Charles Soule. And like when he was an infant. So in 1939. Unfortunately, his father was a very prominent, well-known lawyer, but he passed away in 1960. So Joel would have been around 21 years old. So 20 years later, he then learns that his parents didn't die in a car crash. And he tells us he goes to his mom and confronts his mom, and she reluctantly tells him.
We're going to find that this seems to be a pattern in this family dynamic, that we're going to lie to you. And then when you figure it out, we're going to tell you the truth, but we're not going to tell you the whole truth.
No. So his mother does confirm that they didn't die. But she doesn't, and then she's like, I don't know much about it. Your dad took care of everything. He fixed this adoption. And he even said that I fixed everything so that no one could find out what happened, which red flags all over the place. So as Joel got older, he was able to get a hold of his father's records. They show in the reenactment, like he goes to his, so I'm going to guess his father's, where he worked as a lawyer. And they're like, yeah, we got all these. Here you go. I actually found out he had to sue the state of New York in 1987, and it took 2 years for them to give him the records.
Okay, because they said something weird on Unsolved Mysteries, like after...
Yeah, I did. I learned that in my research.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, he mentioned something like after some difficulties, he was able to get access to
they wouldn't want to give him...
And I get an attorney-client privilege, like...
No,
but he's also one of... Technically, he realizes that he is one of his father's clients.
Yeah, so he finds in his, so he says he finds like letters and all kinds of things in his dad's records that he had been writing to people, agencies, all kinds of things, trying to get a kid. So he thinks in the records he found out that his name was possibly Robert Wilson. He was born November 3rd, 1939. His mother was supposedly, in some papers he'd found out, like Ruth Haverman, who'd supposedly lived at 677 Lexington Avenue in New York. But then when he goes there and he talks to people, they're like, no, and Haverman's never lived here. A Haverman lived here, and it was to a single mother. So not Haverman, Haversack. So maybe that was his mother. So I got to flip pages here. But so he can't really narrow anything down in his father's records. But then he does find that his father was in correspondence with a lady named Bessie Bernard. Bessie's a peach, we find out.
Oh, yeah. She talks like this during the Unsolved Mysteries episode. She was like, I'm from Brooklyn. I'm a gangster. What up, boys?
She wasn't. She was a bad person.
She was a bad person, but I did love the actress that played her in the reenactment. So, side note, not to make this all about me, but I was in the musical Anything Goes, and I played Bonnie the gangsta. And I talked like this the whole time, and like, boys, I'm going to tell you what to do and how to do it, and I'm not going to put up with nothing from the cops, and you boys and you guys and all of that. And this woman in this reenactment, for sure at one point, has played a New York gangster girl because she nailed the accent and everything perfectly. And when she goes hand to fist with the pretend cops in this, it's amazing. She's a bad person, but the actress, chef's kiss.
Sierra would make a good New York gangster, mobster wife. All right. So Joe starts digging into this Bessie Bernard, and what he comes to find out is that she was arrested in 1949 for baby selling. And so then he goes to his mom. It's like, did you guys buy me? And she reluctantly admits it. Like, yes, we paid for you.
The same song and dance. Like, hey, Mom, I found out a little bit more information.
Clearly, she's only going to be willing to admit what he finds out.
I know. And it breaks my heart. And also, I will say this, Betsy, as a woman, we innately are nurturers. Most of us are. Not all women. I do not understand how time and time again now it is women running these and operating these schemes. How do you do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But I will say, Joe tells us like he struggles with this as his mom admits this, because he says, now I felt like just a piece of property to be bought and sold, which, I mean, I'm not adopted, but I can imagine that is, especially as older, like that's a hard pill to come to grips with.
Yeah, adoption, you cannot buy babies. Adoption is very expensive, but you're not acquiring a human through purchase. You're paying all of the legal fees, the medical bills, all of that stuff. That's why it's expensive. This is illegal. You cannot buy babies. And yeah, humans are not goods to be bought and sold. This man is interviewed on Unsolved Mysteries, and you can tell this is very hard for him.
Now, I'm going to get into. I looked him up, so we'll kind of get into
because trauma really hadn't been invented yet. Neither had therapy, so like you could tell he's trying to he's combining these two worlds and trying to rationalize how we got into this position.
So we find out Bessie Bernard lived with her father in New York, and she used newspaper ads to round up kids. I did find out that she wasn't kidnapping them. She was advertising and then buying them really cheap, $200, $300, whatever. And then she was turning around and selling them for $2,000 a pop.
Yeah, she was buying them from desperate people who had
40s is a lot of money.
Yeah, $200 in the 40s would have been life-changing money for people. I'm talking about even the families that she was paying the children for.
So she's buying them for several $100s.
And sadly, we still see this today in third world countries, people selling their children to...
Yeah. This is not unique.
No.
And, anyway, so once she got the kids, then she re-registered them as births in New York and pretty much changed all the records, their names, their parents, anything. So now there's no way of tracing these kids. So she changed all the documents that. In 1949, the Manhattan DA was on to Bessie. And on October 8th of that year, they performed a search warrant at her and her father's place. They tell the story that as they go in, they're like, hey, we have a search warrant. And they're like, fine. As they're going through her purse, a police officer pulls out a small black book. Bessie attacks the police officer, gets the book to her father, and he runs out of the apartment. And that book is never recovered. They believe that book had the real documents, or at least possibly been able to tie who kids were to their real names or real records. And either way, they think there was.
Unfortunately, we've seen this time and time again. The little black book goes missing, right? And that's likely the documentation of all of the
really
information.
Happened, yeah. So don't worry though. So she is arrested. She's tried and she's convicted. And guess what? She was sentenced to 1 year in prison. 1 year. But don't worry.
Oh, it gets better, guys. Buckle up.
Don't worry. She doesn't serve that 1 year because she just paid a $2,500 fine and she was released and said, okay, you're done. Which that was the cost of one child that she'd sold. And we technically have no idea how many kids she sold. Bessie died in 1989. So, anyways, that was said. She changed all the documents. So
she basically takes her secrets to the grave with
Yeah.
her, right? Leaving any child that is trying to figure out who and where they are, where they came from. This is a logistical nightmare.
So at the end of the day, Joe's looking for his parents. He wants to know where he came from. All that we're kind of told he's like, I think, like I said, he was born in 1939. He thinks these things, but he really has no way of knowing. So that's where Unsolved Mysteries leaves us. And that's it. Are you ready for
All right, you dug into it. Tell us the updates.
All right. Solved. But it took a long time. Joe, it took till like 2014.
Well, I saw a little bit that it said like ancestry.com.
So he submitted his DNA.
Yeah. I was like, okay, that had to be
and he
newer.
Found his cousins, who I read multiple articles. They actually knew his mom. They were close with his mom. He found these cousins. He reunited with them and got to kind of know about his mom. His mother was Ruth Braverman, and she had passed away in 1987, unfortunately. So she'd passed away at the age of 70, and so he never got to meet her, didn't know her. But he did get together with these cousins and these family members and was able to be reunited with them and got to hear a little bit about her. They even, I read, it was an article, I think, by the cousin who told the story also. He wrote a story. He's wrote articles and said, yeah, like when their mom passed away, they got all of her stuff and she had some of Joe's mom's stuff and gave Joe some of that. So there was a good ending. Joe has gone on and he, after this, has done great things in his life. He has been an advocate for open adoptions. He has been an advocate. He is a psychotherapist. Am I saying that right? A therapist. You can technically still get him as a therapist today. And the guy's like 80 years old. And he helps adopted kids with overcoming that, what those feelings and that. He is a big advocate for helping kids, adopted families, and helping them overcome that.
I love when you take a tragedy and you are able, because not everyone has the ability to do that.
He's very involved. He seems like he took this and turned it into something good, which makes
he could have been very angry and bitter. And maybe there was a time he
even
was
said
that.
and that's why I said in one of the articles, he said he has come to peace with his mom and his parents.
Yeah.
He still loves them and he's close with his adoptive family, but obviously I think it was probably a hard thing he had to overcome.
Absolutely.
And then he's now turned that around to trying to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
He has a Facebook page. I got on that. He actually posts almost every day or every other day, just inspirational quotes and stuff. Like I think he did yesterday or today posted some inspirational quote from, I can't remember who, but so he's very involved.
Well, good for him. We've got several family members, several nieces and nephews who are adopted.
Yes.
And the blessing and the joy that it has brought into our families' lives is unmeasurable. So it just breaks my heart when I see people taking advantage of.
Adoption is a beautiful thing and it blesses many people's lives. But when you lie to the children, and he's like, I don't know, I'm not a therapist. Yeah. I don't know, but I just.
No, the family members that I have that have talked openly about their adoption process, and I've known them intimately throughout the process that they've been going through, the ups and downs. Every time that they were involved in any form of adoption or potential adoption, the echoing sound is open adoptions are far greater for all people involved, for the adopted family, for the birth family, and for the child.
That's the thing. I can't speak. I don't know because I've never been involved in that. But I know people that have adopted. I work with a guy that has done. I've worked with many guys that have adopted. And it's
and you even
such
have a unique
wonderful
experience with some of the people you know, because it was through the foster care system with what you guys do for work that they had babies placed in their hands and then went through the adoption process. It's a beautiful thing, and it breaks my heart that we've now reported multiple stories of people taking advantage of that.
But there is a theme so far that we've seen, that all these adults that are coming forward and wanting to find out, it's because, one, they find out way later. And so everything they've known has been altered. And then I imagine then you're questioning everything. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad that he's doing well and
but
that
it's
he's
nice
turned
to see
this into something positive.
Absolutely.
And that maybe...
But I looked into this Bessie Bernard.
Okay.
Honestly, there's not a lot of it. She's not made. Sounded like she then changed her name to Elizabeth Weiner. Yes.
Weiner.
And continued doing
I'm not surprised. How many times do we see someone that does a scam?
But she wasn't ever like...
Well, she didn't have to pay the... This is like the Brian Regan skit. Like, if you got the time, you could do the crime. It's like she was making money hand over fist.
Yeah.
And then paid a $2,500 fine and walked away.
Yeah.
According to the reenactment, she assaulted a police officer when he tried to take her in. So she had no consequences. Of course she continued to do this. And she's a terrible human being.
She was a terrible human being.
I hope that she's getting what's coming to her now.
Me too. All right, that's all I got.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see here. All right. For our new fun segment on Unsolved Couple, we are going to read a few of our latest reviews. Let me pull them up here. Unsolved Couple is the name of our podcast.
Now who's not ready?
Oh, please.
I'm pointing it out.
You'd like to point it out?
I would like to point it out.
Okay, well, you can point this out.
I'm pointing it.
All right, so the title of the podcast review is Love This Podcast. Obviously, 5 stars. And the person leaving the review did not give us a real name. It's just gibberish. It's YGJBDYVJG.
I bet that stands for something.
I bet it does. If you are that person that left that review, send me a DM because I am grateful for it, but I don't know how to even go about pronouncing that or if it means anything. So, this podcast is a hidden gem for anyone who loves unsolved mysteries. You can really feel the care and passion that goes into each episode, especially by Ben. I added that part. The storytelling is engaging. The hosts treat every case with respect and curiosity rather than sensationalism. It's refreshing to hear lesser known cases alongside thoughtful discussion and theories that actually make you think. Supporting small, independent podcasts like this is so important, and this one truly deserves more listeners. If you enjoy mysteries that linger with you long after the episode ends, this podcast is absolutely worth your time. Thank you. That was a beautiful review. Well written. Any thoughts, Ben?
I wrote it.
You did not. Come to find out, Ben has 87 different Apple podcasts, and he's just been leaving all of these reviews. No, because this next one is from a friend of ours, Kimberly.
I'm our only listener.
He's got all of these.
I have all these things.
He's got one.
I have all these devices, and I just download
You're just
it.
trying to keep your wife happy. Download every week. Undownload it, re-download them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So the title of the headline of this review is Great Podcast, ! 5 stars. And it is from Kimberly. And she said, love listening and hearing these new stories and great delivery from the host. Perfect for this true crime junkie. Hosts.
Oh, is it plural?
Yeah, it is plural.
I say it's only one.
Yeah.
Just you.
All right, I have a feeling I know who this person who does. It says "Can't Get Enough" is the title of the review. 5 stars,
It's me.
and it's from D Will 801, which is a Utah area code.
It's your brother.
Yeah, it is. Hey, Doug. Thank you, Doug, for leaving us a 5-star rating review. And he said, "Wow, just wow, hilarious, mysterious, entertaining, and all I need for a long road trip. I don't know who the female host is, but she sounds like she's the best big sister in the whole wide world and will always be superior to me in every way."
I don't think that's what it said.
Thanks, Doug. I agree with all of the things that you said.
All
Okay.
right, moving on.
Moving on. Okay. So I've got a scam for you. We love a good scam here. And this is from the Fidelity National Medical Supply Incorporated Company. So, this was a company based in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, that placed several advertisements in newspapers across the United States looking for investors. The company offered potential investors to come to their headquarters and see the company in actual operations. So, we are introduced to a man named Robert Jones, who is interviewed in shadow, as we've found with lots of fraud cases. This can be very embarrassing for people, even though they are the victims. They a lot of the times don't like to be named. And fair enough, I totally understand that. So he was a potential investor that came to the headquarters in Oklahoma City.
I don't think this guy has a lot to be embarrassed about.
I don't think so either. However,
it sounds like he attempted to do his homework.
Yeah, I would say we're going to find out very quickly my next couple of lines in my notes. He did several more checks and balances than probably a lot of people would have.
Well, he even went out there and checked
Well,
it
I would say
out.
that was one big thing in the advertisement, and smart on the scammers. They invited people to come to the headquarters.
Listen, I get it. Like, you don't want to show your face. Dude, I
totally get it.
And I don't think any scammer should be embarrassed. It sucks, man.
No, but every time we tell one of these stories, the people interviewed, a lot of times, even the police are like, these are hard sometimes to prosecute because people don't come forward.
Well, that's even true today.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So on January 24th, he goes out to Oklahoma City. This is in 1992 to see the company. And they provide him a limousine to be driven out to the thing. You guys, limousines were
that was a
big deal
back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was baller status.
Big deal. So maybe that'll be our question for afterwards if we have any limousine stories. So this limousine is provided by the company, which is actually weird because we've seen that in a few fraud cases before of people showboating in limousines. He wanted to see the operations firsthand before making a large investment. He actually even reached out to the Better Business Bureau in Oklahoma City and a national credit firm about the company. Neither of these people or neither of these organizations had received any complaints or found any evidence that there was anything wrong with this company. So Fidelity appeared to be busy with orders coming in and out and workers stacking inventory. The warehouse was filled with boxes, apparently waiting for delivery. Robert was impressed and agreed to invest in the company. He purchased a distributorship for $54,000. This was his life savings, and this was in 1992. So we're probably looking at 2.5 times that amount. So you're well over $100,000. He was one of more than 300 people who had made investments into this company, totaling $1.2 million. Again, if you want to adjust that for inflation, we're probably looking at close to $3 million. The IRS became suspicious. And again, we get no more background information. I tried to look at what the IRS was tagged.
They tell the story in 5 minutes.
Yeah. We get no more information because I've heard of if companies grow very rapidly, if their stocks grow, the IRS is going to look at you.
Well, we had that one where the guy had the gold mining. He said he found gold and they like tripled within a year. And
yes.
Everyone's like, red flag.
Yeah, but
got on 'em
1.2
real quick.
million, really, when you think about it, for an investment for a distribution company, is not a ton of money.
Yeah, but if that's like over within a few months,
Yeah, that's true.
maybe that would trigger some. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, so February 17th, 1992, agents from the FBI and IRS in Oklahoma City. Man, when was the Oklahoma City bombings? Wasn't it around this time?
I think it was 94.
Okay. I was like, man,
It was a few years after.
yeah,
this.
it's like this group of men and women is about to have a rough go about it. The Oklahoma City police made a surprise raid on the Fidelity National Medical Supply Company. Inside the warehouse, you guys, they find that all of the boxes are empty. It is just chocked full of stacked and emptied boxes. Not a single medical supply to be found.
The fair is that agents like the amount of supplies we found, I couldn't fit on my desk.
Yes, I know. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
It was
So there's
just
no evidence.
They showed us real footage
Yeah.
of them and they're just chucking
these
boxes.
empty boxes.
You can tell that agents are getting irritated because they're opening box after box after box, and then they're just
And if
flinging
you've
them
ever had
around.
to open a bunch of boxes, it gets old real quick.
They're just flinging these things through the warehouse.
Yeah. Not a medical supply in sight. So, and then there's no evidence that the company had ever even purchased, received, or shipped a single thing. It was literally a shell of a company. The masterminds behind the operation had vanished before the investigators arrived, which is crazy. They must have somehow been aware that something was coming. The leader of the operation was believed to be a man calling himself Richard Condita, which may be an alias, and two other key figures who are believed to be Harold Frederick Kunger and Thomas Alfred Flanagan.
Say that again.
Flanagan. I'm not kidding. Flanagan. 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 Flanagan.
Flanagan.
Flanagan? Well, I like Flanagan better. So their whereabouts remain unknown. And that's where Unsolved Mysteries leave this. Like, literally, this was like a 5-minute segment.
All right, give us an update.
Captured. So, the leader of the operation, Harold, was arrested in San Antonio, Texas, weeks before the story actually aired. And in August of 1992, Thomas Flanagan was arrested in Atlanta, Georgia, thanks to a viewer's tip. Both were convicted of mail fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy and sentenced to 9 years in prison. They served their time, and both have since been released. So, and it is now believed that both of these men actually made up a third person that didn't actually exist. The Richard, who was the main guy, was not a real person. These two men had fabricated him. I looked, I could not find a single article about these men after 1992. And their names are pretty... I mean, I know they had aliases because they committed fraud, but I couldn't find anything about them post being released from prison. I couldn't even find obituaries on them.
All right.
So there you go.
Got caught,
I feel bad because he had to check with a credit bureau and the Better Business Bureau to try to verify. That's all at that time, especially. That's all you could have done.
Yeah, but I think like the Business Bureau, they're only going to have records of people
complaining about
things. Them. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, this guy was
what else were you supposed to do
at that time?
Yeah,
like, you went with the agencies that would have had any records.
And then you went to visit on site. You interacted with people. You saw an active warehouse full of people pretending to work. You saw
what appeared to be inventory. You saw a bunch of boxes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It sucks, man.
Yeah. And at least in the reenactment, according to Unsolved Mysteries, when he toured the warehouse, they told him that he couldn't go into the actual inventory warehouse where all of the boxes were for some sort of security purposes.
They were medical things.
They were medical devices and different things.
But he was looking through a window. Like, he just saw this warehouse full of boxes. I was like,
those boxes are going to be empty. And then they were.
And they were.
Yeah.
I mean, but it did
I
tell you.
hope that man, we don't get any information back whether it doesn't say that they were arrested and sentenced. Doesn't seem like they were expected to pay any money back, or I don't know. I hope whoever this man was in shadow, that
I guess.
he was able to find a nice little place in Florida to retire and call it good. So, all right, Ben, what story do you have for us?
All right, let me get my notes. I have a murder. You ready?
I'm ready.
Are you sure?
Positive.
All right. They start this one out weird. They do.
I wonder how many times we've actually said that about Unsolved Mysteries.
Probably a lot.
A lot, yeah.
Well, so this was called in to Unsolved Mysteries by the guy that found the body.
Yes. He had a we're going to find out. He had a weird connection to this body.
All right, so we find out Tyrone Rollins is the one calls us in to Unsolved Mysteries and tells them about this. And Tyrone lived in Independence, Missouri, and he'd just been hired as a bus driver. And they tell us that ever since, and it was in 1986 when he got hired as a bus driver. And behind the bus depot where they kept all the buses was this rocky outcropping. And he said he always kind of felt creepy. Always felt like someone was over there watching him. He said he would even get in the bus, get ready to go, and he felt like someone was behind him watching him. So he'd look behind him.
There was weird. The vibes were off.
The vibes were off, right? So finally, not till 1991, so 5 years of working in this place, on October 16th, 1991, he says, listen, I'm going to guess maybe he didn't have any routes that morning. He goes, I'm going to go check out this rocky outcropping.
I did feel a little bit of a kindred spirit to this man, because this would be me. 100%.
Because he gets up there, he's exploring, and he sees this cave. And so he goes in, and he says he gets real excited. It's kind of cool. And this was Sierra because he gets real excited about the rocks. There's some cool rocks in there.
You guys, if I found a cave that I don't think anyone has been in for a long time,
Well, no one had been in there for a long time.
Yes, I understand that. But I would feel like an ancient discovery. I would feel like Indiana Jones, and I like cool rocks. Yes, I would be this. This is me if I was, yes. I saw a lot of myself in this man.
So as he's checking out these cool rocks, he looks over and he sees a pair of boots. And as he goes over and checks it out, it's not just a pair of boots, it's skeleton remains. So of course he calls the police, and they pull it out and they compare it to dental records, and they get a match to a man by the name of Gary Simmons. And he had vanished back in 1974, so 17 years earlier. Okay. We get told about Gary. He owned a bunch of lucrative gas stations in Kansas City. So he was only from 25 miles away. Independence in Kansas City, I guess they were close. So we find out he was a successful businessman. He owned all these gas stations, but you know what he loved doing on the side? What, Sierra?
He had a horse hobby.
He had a horse hobby. And if anyone knows horses, it's an expensive hobby.
A very expensive hobby. And people, when they get into horses, guys, no one is just slightly into horses.
No, you're all in.
Everyone I know that just dabbles in horses, before they know it, they're in deep. 18 hands deep of horses.
18. That's a big horse. 18 hands is a very large horse. All right. I'm sorry. I did forget to mention, when they pull his body out of the cave, they determined he'd been shot in the head. So this is a murder. Okay. And a murder that happened technically 17 years early, because he was last seen in 1974. So he's into horses. We get told on October 14th, 1974, in the reenactment, he's hanging out at some ranch and he's talking to some guy and he's like, hey, man, I might know of a horse for sale, a prize horse, a big time horse. The guy tells him, we don't know who, but he tells him, you ever heard of Tom Dixon? He's like, yeah, I know Tom, part of the whatever association. He's like, yeah. He's like, he's got this horse for sale, I think. It's worth a lot. It's worth $30,000, which in the 70s, that's a lot of money. What at that time, we're looking at almost 4 times. So that's over $100,000 horse in our time.
Pennies for horses.
Which a prize horse now is.
Prize horse now is millions of dollars. I actually just listened to a podcast that told a story about a horse snapping, where a prize horse was kidnapped in Kentucky. Horse people are crazy.
The Kentucky Derby.
Yes, it was a Triple Crown, whole breeding horse, high stock, blah, blah, blah,
horses
blah,
are
blah.
big money.
They are big money. And I will say here, I didn't know this until Ben got into horses about 9 months ago. You got into horses.
And now you tell him a secret.
Ben's super into horses, and I'm the person that has to control the horse issue here at the house because we live in an HOA and we have a backyard with a pool and no horse stables.
Yet.
But I did not realize how big of horse. I knew obviously with Southern Arizona, lots of cowboys, but the big money horses that are in Scottsdale.
Yeah, there's a lot
the people
of
of Scottsdale, y'all need to get down off your high horses. There's too much money up there. Everyone is snobby, but the horse money up there is insane.
It's a lot of horse, good money.
Yeah.
All right. Tell them the secrets.
Ben, it's not a surprise to anyone. It's not a secret anymore to anyone that you are starting to get into horses. And I'm having to for the first time in our marriage, I'm the person that's like, no. I don't, it's never happened.
We'll talk about it later. All right. So the next day, Gary's at the office and a man shows up, Mr. Tom Dixon. And he shows up, he's like, hey, I got a meeting with Gary. And so she shows him back. He's like, oh, hey. And we get told at 10:15 a.m., Gary and Tom Dixon leave the office. The secretary says, I don't know where they went. I don't know what was going on. But 15 minutes later, she gets a phone call from Gary. Right? And he says, listen, Miss Secretary, I don't know her name. That's why they didn't tell us her name. He says, Miss Secretary, I need you to make out a check for $30,000 and make it out to Tom Dixon. And she goes, okay. So 11 a.m., Tom Dixon shows back up at the office and says, hey, I'm here to pick up that check that your boss called you about. And she's like, sure, here's the check. But it's no good until Gary signs it. He goes, well, I will take it to him to get it signed. So he takes the check to go to sign. At 11:30, man, did I get this wrong? Oh, yeah, 11:30. Gary is seen at a truck stop 10 miles from the office. And they shows the cook. He sees him there. He's at the counter and he's walking back and forth from the counter to the window. And he's looking out the window like he's waiting for someone or waiting for something. Okay. At noon, Dixon shows up at the bank. And the bank manager says that Gary had called before and had told him that Tom Dixon was going to come by and cash a check. Sure enough, Dixon does show up and he cashes that check for $30,000. So in less than 2 hours, some type of $30,000 transaction has transpired. That diner was the last time that Gary Simmons was last seen. No one has seen him since. 5 hours later, so around 5 p.m., Dixon shows up at a salvage yard with Gary Simmons' Lincoln Continental, and asked the salvage yard guy, "Hey man, I got to get rid of this really nice car. Can you crush it for me?" And he's like, "Yeah, I can crush cars, but the feds are kind of cracking down on this, so you have to show some paperwork or something." He's like, okay, well, I got to get rid of this car. How else can I get rid of it? I know.
What?
I know. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it makes sense that this guy obviously up until this point had no problem just doing what he was paid to do and didn't ask any questions.
So he's like, I don't know, man. He's like, put a brick on the accelerator and drive it into the Missouri River. So Dixon then leaves with the Lincoln Continental.
Hey, do you have a brick I can borrow before I take off from here?
I did come find out that all this information was found out later. So then we have the next sighting of Dixon is a friend says that he dropped him off at a truck stop, and Dixon was like, "Yeah, man, I got this gig with a rig, and I'm going to drive it across country." So, and Dixon is never seen again. So April 25th, 1975, a Lincoln Continental is found in the Missouri River. No body in it. It's just found, and it belongs to Gary Simmons. So
this story breaks my heart because poor Gary seemed just like a very nice, normal guy. And in an afternoon, things went bad, real bad for him.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
So, the police say at the end of the day,
is that this idiot, at least up until this point, has gotten away with this, and he wasn't good at what he did.
No.
This was not some mastermind murder plot.
So the police officer, he's interviewed, he's the one now on the case 17 years later. And he's like, listen, at the time, it was just kind of deemed as two missing people. They looked into it. They tried to kind of backtrack his whereabouts and Tom Dixon's whereabouts. But at the end of the day, they both led to dead ends. So they had two missing men and they didn't really know what was going on. So, but now 17 years later, we find the body with a bullet hole in the skull. And now we got a homicide on our hands and we're 17 years behind the 8 ball. So
I don't know, man. There was at least one missing person and a $30,000 check. I feel like that alone could have maybe put a little bit more heat behind this, but.
So I did find out that as they dug into the homicide, that's when they talked to the salvage yard guy, find out about this. And then that's why they then issued a warrant for Dixon's arrest for auto theft. So they're looking for him.
I mean, it's like if we can at least get him on that. Yeah.
So Robert Stack comes back and tells us, listen, so we get the police officer who says, yeah, we're investigating this homicide. We're looking for Dixon because we think he's involved. He's the last person to be seen with him and hanging out. And he took $30,000 from him. We got a warrant out for his arrest for at least one thing we can time to. We have no eyes on
a horse that I'm guessing he was trying to buy.
Yeah. So as they're filming the segment, a new witness comes forward, a man by the name of Roy Hilton. Okay. And he's a local rancher. And he says, yeah, I know Simmons and I know Dixon. He goes, I remember that day well. He says, they did come. He said, I did see Simmons. And Simmons was at the Whispering Down Horse Ranch. And he was on the phone there. He says, I heard him talking. He goes, I think he called his secretary and he called the bank. He made a couple phone calls. He goes, and Simmons showed me the horse that he bought from Dixon. I saw the horse.
So there was a horse.
According to this guy. Where this horse is today, I have no idea.
So this guy goes to sell a horse. He sells the horse for
supposedly
a chunk of change, gets the cash. Then why did he kill this guy?
I don't know. Did he? I don't know. So Hilton says, yeah, dude, I actually don't think this had anything to do with the horse. Says anyone that lived in the 70s knows that in 1973, a year before Simmons had disappeared, there was the Arab oil embargo. That's where gas lines were at. And Gary Simmons had owned multiple gas stations. And supposedly he was in pretty dire straits and had closed multiple of his stores because he could not get gas. And supposedly he was buying gas on the spot market, which supposedly is like the black market.
Yeah.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't know a lot about this part. I wasn't alive.
It was like unregulated gas or something like that. Because it wasn't like, they made it sound like it wasn't as bad as like, it wasn't illegal what he was doing.
Well, his brother comes on. Gary's brother comes on and says, yes, he was, he might have been. He goes, but it really wasn't illegal. Every gas station was trying to just get gas any way they could. And everyone was kind of doing it. So it wasn't like a big deal.
It wasn't like he was doing something he wasn't supposed to or getting with bad people.
But at the end of the day, now the police will have to look at two different avenues.
Yeah, but who was the guy who tried to get his car crushed? Horse dude.
I agree. Tom Dixon.
Yeah.
So, all right. Police are looking for Tom Dixon. They have now issued a warrant for his arrest.
We got a lot of questions for Tom.
Because they were able to find out he tried to crush his car, and they do think that he's the one that sent it to the bottom of the Missouri River.
Well, yeah, I would think so. It seemed like he followed the advice given to him.
So, that's where Unsolved Mysteries leaves us.
Okay. Update. I don't like the look on your face.
I have no update.
Shut the front door. Are you serious?
Nothing.
Nothing
has come of this.
What?
Yeah.
Tom Dixon, does he even exist?
There's a lot of speculation that people think Tom Dixon's dead too. There was something going on. They're both.
Like Tom was the middleman for something else?
Yeah, so Tom Dixon, I read and went, The Trail Went Cold does this one too.
Okay, wow.
Tom Dixon had a lot of debts. And his friend that had dropped him off, him and that friend supposedly had owed some debts to people, and they tried to pay off some debts that day. And he was never seen again. Maybe he was wanting
to sell the horse to a few different people. And so,
I mean, at the end of the day, Gary Simmons was shot in the head. He was murdered.
Yeah, he left his office assuming he was going to just go acquire this horse.
Tom Dixon was not a stranger. People knew him and had never seen him since. Like, he literally has never been seen since.
So it wasn't an alias. At least as far as we know, Tom Dixon wasn't an alias. He didn't just show up in this little town in Missouri and...
Nope. And
they're both been missing since that day.
I do think there's a lot more of this story that has never been uncovered. It appears these guys, I think Tom was probably involved. I'm throwing guesses out here, people. Mm-hmm. Everything I'm saying from here on out is speculation. There's no backing whatsoever. But that guy he was known. He was involved in some type of this horse world or in some type of, he was a middleman. Mm-hmm. They said he wasn't necessarily the owner of the horse. He was a middleman for trying to sell it for the owner of the horse.
Where's the owner of the horse? Have we spoken to him?
Again, no one knows anything. The only reason we even believe the horse exists is because this guy, Roy Hilton, comes forward in 91, and 17 years later. Everything up until that point believes that horse never existed. I would love to know what
people are saying inside the horse community, because that is a tight-knit world. I guarantee there is some gossip and theories happening around there. If you're in the horse world in Missouri, reach out to us.
Missouri? So, yeah, I mean, I really have nothing new to
That's insane.
Nothing has come of this. But
I feel bad for this man. He literally left his office, went and saw a horse, probably was so excited to take this horse home, makes all the phone calls, makes all the arrangements, and then either due to the other guy ended up in a bad situation because that guy was in trouble, or like some sort of weird double crossing thing happened. I don't know, man, but that's terrible. I wonder if someone came after Tom Dixon. No, because Tom Dixon afterwards took the car somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's...
There's a lot there, I think. Yeah, we don't know. Are you saying there might be some corruption and some sneaky sneaks inside the horse world?
I don't know. I don't know.
No, whenever there's money, there is for sure bad things happening.
I don't know. It's there's at the end of the day, there's really nothing on. There's unsolved.
That makes me sad for that. Yeah, for that man.
Yeah. But I mean, really at the end of the day, like,
they have nothing.
It was 17 years later before the police could really start digging into a homicide investigation.
Murders are solved week after week that are far older than that, but you have to have something to go on. And if the suspect has never been seen since
well, that's the thing.
48 hours after, how long after did he go to the
next day?
The next day. So 24 hours later, and then he was never seen again after that.
Like I said, there's a lot of speculation that whatever third party was involved in all this took care of Tom Dixon also.
Dead man tell no tales.
So, but again, that's all speculation. There's no way, nothing.
But I'll tell you this, I guarantee today at this moment, somebody knows something.
And yeah, I mean, the horse world it's a lucrative business.
It is a lucrative business. And whenever there's lucrative money to be made, there is going to be crime and corruption. And we've covered a lot of stories from the Missouri area. The mob was far more present in Kansas City area than I think I ever thought. I just think of like the Midwest as like, oh, don't you know, like unhealthy salads and side dishes. And that's what I think of the Midwest, like happy-go-lucky people, not the mafia. Like Jell-O salads and Midwest women.
I don't know, but if anyone's got a nice horse.
No, we do not have. Ben came home from work a few days ago and was like, so one of the horses that he likes might be needing a home sometime in the next few years. I'm like, great. Where are we going to put it?
I can find a way. If there's a will, there's a way.
If there's a money stream, then there's a way. Maybe we'll start a Patreon, and with that money, you can get yourself a horse. But then we got to do video streaming. That's the only way we're going to get Ben on video. Is if he
can guarantee me an income so that I can then build my horse stall. I'm here for it.
You're here for it. All right, guys. Well, those are our stories. Not a ton of resolution today on the big ones.
Murders, nothing.
Nothing. It was the lost love and the fraud, we got that figured out. But the unsolved murders.
But both these murders, way behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
You know, and that hitchhiker one, that's tough. It's tough on law enforcement. It's tough on everybody.
Yeah, I agree. All right, that was your guys' recap of season 4, episode 21. We're not too far from wrapping up season 4 and heading on to season 5.
I think it's over after season 4. There's no more seasons.
There's no more seasons of Unsolved Mysteries?
This podcast is about to be over.
We're about to wrap this.
Wrap it up, baby.
Well, I don't think so. If that means then we got to find Rescue 911 is next on the list.
I'm out. I'm retiring.
You don't want to recap Rescue 911?
I'm retiring. I've put in my time of service.
I found a new true crime show that's all about people that died in tight spaces in caves. I thought we could recap that.
I would rather do anything than that.
Would you rather lick a dirty Band-Aid than that?
Absolutely. I'd do it 100. I would lick that thing 100 times.
You would lick 100 dirty Band-Aids?
100.
Then have to recap. Should I sit here and tell you about the Nutty Putty death? Ben couldn't do it, you guys. He could not do it.
No. I'm claustrophobic. And I didn't realize that until I was like 35.
Do you remember when you realized that? All right, we'll chat about that in just a second. For anyone who doesn't want to, please feel the exit stage right. We appreciate you. But for our real fans, now it's time for chitty chat time with Ben. Ben, do you realize the moment when you realized that you were claustrophobic?
Yep.
Really? When was it?
I don't know which one came first, but I have two things.
Okay.
Okay. Two instances where I wasn't even in a claustrophobic situation, but I was either watching it or listening
You had
to
a
it.
visceral reaction.
reaction. We watched the new Blair Witch movie,
which is terrifying.
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't that great, but it was. I'm not a big scary movie
It
person.
was intense.
And if anyone's watched it, if you haven't, you're not missing out. But I don't remember the whole movie. But this girl ends up
underneath the house
in the basement, and so to get out, she has to.
She's trying to run away from the Blair Witch.
Yeah, and she has to crawl through this space. And it gets tight, and then it
gets tighter
stuck.
and tighter and tighter and smaller and smaller and smaller, and like it's enclosing around her as she's
I'm
getting, but she's
watching
panicked, so she's continuing to go forward.
And I'm watching it, not realizing what's transpiring, and I start hyperventilating.
Yeah,
like I started freaking out to the point I had to get up and leave the room, and like. I think I had to get kind of like in a ball and just like breathe my way through it because I had
rocking on the floor.
It was a lot for me.
Yeah.
And the other time, I don't know which one. I was listening to a book. I spend a lot of time by myself in a vehicle. So the radio's really old. I listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of books. I have an Audible subscription. I've listened to a ton of books.
That is a big flex, having an Audible subscription, I feel like.
Yeah, my whole $15 a month. Big deal. And I was listening to what's the Jack Reacher book? I think I listened to 4 or 5 of them. They were okay. They're not great, but in the book, same thing. He gets stuck in one of these things and he has to crawl his way out. And the way the author is describing it, I was on this dirt road. I was driving really slow. And he's describing it and he gets stuck. And I had to pause the book and I had to get out and stand and I had to like walk and breathe outside of my truck. I was just
the truck was too tight of a space for you to be in that moment.
It was a lot. So that's when I realized.
Did you ever, as in your younger years, because we've been into caves and stuff like that and different things. Have you done stuff in your younger years where you were in tighter spaces like that?
Yeah.
And it never bothered you?
Maybe not to that extent.
You were uncomfortable, but not to like, I can't go forward anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to that extent.
Yeah. It's interesting that happens as you get older.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
So, I don't know. That's all I got.
That's all you got.
What about you?
Well, I'm not claustrophobic, but I will say a fear that surprised me as an adult. I have a weird, and it's not crippling yet. I'm sure it might get there. I've discovered that I have a more visceral fear of heights than I did when I was younger. And I discovered this when we were in Oregon a few years ago. My dad is like an expert with what is the word? I'm like rappelling and like knots and all of that stuff, right?
Yep.
He's climbed trees for a living his whole life and rappelled down. And so we took our kids rappelling down these amazing cliffs up. And how high do you think those cliffs were? 100 feet?
At least.
At least. So these aren't little cliffs either. I
Nope.
will say this was a big cliff.
It was very large.
And I don't think I had been on top of something like that without some sort of like edging or railing in my adult life up until that point. And there's something about having kids where you are also a lot more aware of like your own mortality. Because like being on top of the Empire State Building or anything like that doesn't bother me. And I know people with fear of heights cannot even go on some of like those buildings and different things. Doesn't bother me. But my kids were down below. They had done like a smaller little, we did not let the kids go down that height. And Ben was up top with my dad helping like get people strapped in and stuff. And so I climb up this mountain and you climb up like by yourself and we get up towards the top and I'm excited to go. I've been looking forward to this all day. And that's what I think was so kind of caught me off guard is that we get up there and you and my dad are like 5 feet from the edge of 100. Like you guys would die if you fell off. And I think that was my first like kind of hard breath was like, oh, you guys are casually up here. Like if you tripped over your shoelace, your life is over, right? Like those are the things that started going through my head. And my dad is like strapping me in and it's all these knots and we've got safety and Ben is like on the rappels or the second person. And I started hyperventilating and I wasn't expecting that to happen. I've climbed trees and jumped off things. I used to jump off the trestle. We've done roller coasters. Roller coasters, nothing like that bothers me. Never in my life have I been scared. I started crying.
I know. I was there.
Were you surprised when I started?
Yes, I was.
Because it just was, and I was angry that I was crying. Like then I was mad because my dad and my husband are trying to comfort me and I'm getting pissed because I'm like, I don't know why I'm crying. I am having this overwhelming emotional reaction. And I literally stood on that and was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can. And I finally told you guys to like, get the F away from me. Like no one talk to me. No one touch me. No one look at me. I just need to get over the edge of this thing. Because again, I understood that I was actually more safe around top of that mountain than you and my dad were. You guys weren't harnessed into anything. No, you could have tripped and fallen.
I think your dad was at the bottom because someone has to be at the bottom. I think it was just me up there.
It might have been by that time. I think I was waiting. And that's why maybe as I had to wait for my dad. I think my dad helped strap me in and then he went down to the bottom. And so, yeah, I don't know. But
no, because I remember as we were up there, I was trying to help you. And you finally you were like, leave me alone. And so I just left you be.
I'm the kind of person, you guys, when life gets really hard or I'm in a bad situation or like this, like something, I shut down and I want no one to talk to me, look at me, blink at me, help me, nothing. I need to figure this out on my own. And I like get very hyper focused. And I just knew that if I
know.
I need you to keep me alive, but don't help me. And so here's the thing. I did it. I think I freaked my dad. That's right. Because I took my shoes off because I felt like I needed to touch the ground. I ripped my shoes off. And once I was barefoot, I felt weirdly more like secure. And so I threw my shoes over the edge. Everyone down there had safety helmets on because, rocks fall and stuff. And then I felt fine. Like I was able to like literally lean over the edge. I walked down, I kicked off. And the best part about rappelling is it takes way longer to get up there and get strapped in than you actually, like you're down in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was definitely something that as an adult, I was not expecting to have a weird fear of. And ever since then, like I've gone rappelling again since then, no problem. But I cannot cliff dive like I used to. I used to be able to jump off. I took you guys to where I used to cliff dive. And it's not that, it's maybe 8 feet.
Yeah, no, you can't do it.
I can't do it. And I stood up there for a long time.
That's right.
And I couldn't. I wanted to. And I was on the verge of tears. I physically could not do it. I don't even know if someone pushed me and I realized I was okay. If I could then like go up there and do it again. And I used to jump off the freaking trestle in Myrtle Creek, which is highly illegal and like frowned upon because it's very dangerous. And I spent my summers jumping off rocks and cliffs without knowing anything of what was beneath. But as an adult, being on the edge without a guardrail, there's something about that where it's all of a sudden you feel like you are a lot more like your equilibrium is way more off. So yeah, I don't know. All right, guys. Well, that is our episode. We hope you enjoyed it. 2 more weeks till CrimeCon, but join me and Ben again here next week where we recap another episode of
Unsolved Mysteries.
Bye.